Hello and welcome to MINYIP. I'm your host, Blake, and I am joined, like always, by Clinton. How are you, Clinton?
Good, thank you, Blake. I'm turning into David Brown this week. Do you know David Brown?
I do not. You might have to inform me.
He was a weatherman back in the day on TV. Or he still might be. I'm not sure, but he was a weatherman. And with the rain that's about in both Melbourne and Sydney, I think that will be a key factor for our stables this weekend.
Wow, getting straight into the racing talk already, Clinton, with the weather forecast for this weekend. So that's good. Straight into it.
It's going to be very relevant, Blake. Don't you worry, because there's some horses that will thrive in the wet, and if it's drier, it's going to change things in terms of Supercoach racing.
Would have been good if you informed me about this before the show, so I could adjust my team accordingly. But
that's all good. Yeah, plenty of time.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a 12:15 p.m. lockout for Saturday. We're currently recording this on Thursday night. So all the latest fields and everything are as of Thursday night. So just in case you're watching this and if there's scratchings and everything, make sure you plan accordingly. But Thursday night, make sure if you're listening to us for the first time, you like, comment, and subscribe to the show. We had our most popular show last week, Clinton, with the Supercoach Racing Round 2 show. So hopefully we can top it this upcoming round. So it was a good recording for us last week, wherever you're listening to us, whether it be Apple or Spotify podcast or watching us on YouTube. It must have been just because of the improved graphics. Everyone must have heard about what was happening with our graphics last week and tuned in. So that was good.
It was all your graphics, Blake. Don't you worry about that. And I think after the results too, which we'll get into in a second, everyone was walking around thinking that they've nailed Supercoach and thinking they're superheroes with capes on. But this week, it's going to be a different story because I don't think it's as easy as what it was last week.
Yeah, it's a good segue into what we're about to discuss, which was our results from last week with some big races. Probably the biggest upset of all, probably the big Group 1 race against Zaki. Zaki was stalking Homesman, and Homesman took off coming into the turn. Zaki tried to keep up with it and just ran out of juice. Probably stalked it nicely, ran up a tight gap on the inside and just held on in front of non-conformists to win by about a nose. So that was a good win by Probabeel, getting 40 points. Zaki only getting 24, which was in 65% of stables, which probably gives an indication as to how many people changed their teams after round one, because just about everyone should have had Zaki and captained it if they did. But those who did go a differential captain would have topped the scores for the round. The other Group 1 winners were Animo, Profondo, and I'm Thunderstruck, which were popularly owned. It was a good week for most Supercoach teams. I went up the rankings about 6,000 or 7,000 just based off locking in most of those favourites. I went with a pretty standard team. I had Zaki, Animo, Profondo, I'm Thunderstruck, which were the big winners there. Some other key horses which got the points were Tofane, Sovat, Toxel, Delphi had a good win there. It was a good week for most super coaches, I'd say. And if you locked in most of the favourites, you would have done pretty well, which a lot of stables did, I'm guessing. So you didn't have anything to add there, Clinton, about some of the key races there from last week?
Oh, not really. It's just obviously good viewing. Obviously, a big upset in the main race, but I went different. I didn't have Animo, which was disappointing, and Profondo was the real winner, being I think it was 50k to win the Group 1. So that was a good win there, and very very smart horse that one. So it's one to watch.
Yeah, there was a late out there's a scratching on Saturday morning, which forced some changes into our teams, but so it worked out pretty well for me in the end. I ended up swapping out Homesman and got in Probabeel just because of the late scratching, whose the name escapes me at the moment, the scratching last week. Clinton, any chance you remember that one?
No, it's been a long week.
That's all right. It's yeah. So that scratching made me change a couple of things around. Went homesman to Probabile, which worked
Floating
out.
artist.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, floating artist, which ran yesterday, I believe. Probabile
And lost.
Yeah, so it was good for super coaches. Probabile got me the points there with the win. As you already mentioned, we had I had Animo for 40 points. Did you have Pilali as well?
I couldn't quite hear you. Could you please repeat what you said?
Oh, was that Siri?
Yeah, Siri just wanted to chime in with my racing knowledge there, but yeah.
Well, three-person video tonight. Yeah, so it had Pilali.
You mean Siri.
Yeah, I chucked that in late as well. So I'm not sure if I had that. I don't think I had that in my video when we recorded last week, but I had that in come race time.
Yeah, that's right, just because of that scratching. So like everyone, I captained Zaki, who got 24 points, which boosted up, doubled, got me 48. Legron, which was my roughie, got me 24 points, who finished third in the Group 2 race, which is a pretty good result for me overall. If I had a bit of extra cash, I probably would have gone up to Never Been Kissed, which came second and would have got me higher points then again. But Legron was the best I could afford and got me 24 points. I'm Thunderstruck, which was in the most stables, got me 40, and Coastwatch, which was in a Group 2 race, but finished second to Halal. So that actually was my lowest scorers. So Allegron and Coastwatch both got 24, and one of those horses wouldn't have counted in my overall points. 277 was my round score. So pretty happy with that overall, in the top percentage of scorers. And like I already mentioned, moved up the rankings a fair bit. So overall, very happy with that. James McDonald dominated again. And like always, one of your favorite jockeys. He'll be in a lot of stables this weekend. Yeah,
he goes okay, Blake. Yeah, he's an up and coming jockey, and yeah, he'll get some respect soon. So
he wants his respect. Yeah, he'll get it soon. Do you want to talk through how you went last weekend, Clinton? 261 points.
Very similar, Blake. I think we could talk about it for a while, but it's no point because I think everyone had very similar stables. I'd locked in a horse called Sort of State, which I convinced myself was going to run really well, but didn't do so well. So, yeah, Zaki, captain, obviously, Probabile had the whole time. Artorias, I'd had, so I didn't go with Animo, and Artorias still ran well, but yeah, ran into third, and Palele, and yes, Sort of State, who I said disappointed. I'm Thunderstruck, Coastwatch, and Profondo, similar to you. So very similar scores, just the one real disappointment. And yeah, everyone captain Zaki. So 261, not too bad. And this week it's where it gets tricky.
Yeah, your ranking there is 2,395. So you're approximately about 600 ahead of me at the moment. So we're pretty level, even though we've had pretty differential stables at the moment. So your main difference there was Artorias over Animo in comparison to my stable, and you had Sort of State. So just a matter of a couple of horses difference can change it up a fair bit. But something that hasn't changed up a fair bit is our top 5 for our league. You can still join our league. League code is 592936. We've got 50 people in the league now. So that was our target at the start of the season. So pretty happy to have all those people in our league, and thank you for joining. There'll be future leagues or upcoming sports coming up. But for this one, thank you for joining. Walla Walla Boom by Adam is still in the lead. He scored the same as me, and he's on 532 total points. He's currently ranked 34th overall. So well done, Adam. Campbell and Trent on the same points again, second and third. You must be either close mates, copying each other, or just flukishly, remarkably alike. Kentucky Fried by Sam has moved up one ranking to be above Pablo Bill, who is in currently 5th. And we're quite close to this top 5, Clinton, but we're just out of it at the moment. So hopefully we'll catch them soon. But well done to our top 5 there, who are in the MINYIP Fantasy Sports Community League. So well done, Adam. Hopefully you can keep up that form. Let's get stuck into upcoming races for this weekend, Clinton. As you've already mentioned, it's going to be wet.
Well, it's not, when I say it's going to be wet, there's a lot of rain around Friday and Friday night. So it's going to be interesting to see how well the track dries up and what rating the ground will be. So that will determine, I think, come Saturday morning, if it's still quite wet, I'll be looking at those wet trackers to fill my stable.
Yeah, so we've got the races at Randwick and Caulfield again this weekend. The key races, we've got 2 Group 1s, one from each track. We've got the Everest at Randwick in race 7. I think there's currently 16 runners in that race, so still a reasonably sized field. Again, this being a Thursday night recording. And the Group 1, the Caulfield Cup at Caulfield, has got 20 runners in it in race 9 at 5:15. So some big races there to look forward to for the weekend, and there'll be some good viewing. We've got 2 Group 2 races with smaller fields. We've got 6 Group 3 races. It'll be a wide open Supercoach races this weekend because, yeah, not many Group 1 races to select from. And so this will determine your Supercoach overall ranking going forward, I reckon, this round. And it won't be as easy as last week, as you've already mentioned, Clinton.
I think, yeah, the stables almost picked themselves, especially last week, whereas this week there's so many horses that are similarly priced, and whether it be in Supercoach terms, but then also with the bookie. So it's going to be a very tricky team. You have to go pick your own stable, and this is where it's really comes down to trying to pull the right rein and hopefully get those points in.
Yeah, one key factor I like to look at is the amount of horses that are in the field. And at the moment, the only races that have under 10 runners are handicap races, so which are obviously worth less points, only 18 points for first place. So it's going to be quite interesting to see where Supercoach stables go this weekend in terms of their selections. We'll kick off talking through the races. We'll go to the Caulfield Cup, which is the Group 1, 20 runners. It's at 5:15 p.m, race 9 at Caulfield, and the favourite is Incentivise. What do you make of Incentivise there as the favourite? $2.60 odds there, Clinton, to win the race.
Obviously, a very impressive horse. It's going to be very hard to beat. The one thing that maybe make it more difficult for it to win is the barrier draw. Obviously, drew very wide, so it's going to have to push quite hard early to get a good spot, and then that potentially could set up for the sweepers in the race. And there's quite a few there that will be coming home hard. So it's going to be a good race. Incentivise, though, at that value, it's still well worth having in your stable. It's just whether or not you double up with a different horse. And there's plenty of horses there that are of similar value, as I said earlier. So it all depends which horse you particularly like. And at the moment, I've only got Incentivise. I might change, obviously, depending on what will happen with the weather. And I actually like the Chosen One, but at the moment I don't have it in because it's quite expensive and I don't want to take that risk at the moment, but I might do so come Saturday.
Yeah, right. It's a tough race to pick a second horse. I think most stables will be picking Incentivise at 250k in Supercoach. Most people will be locking that in. But yeah, from there, from second until about 7th favourite, the Supercoach value is between 325 to 375k. So spending a fair bit for a horse that's a wide open race after Incentivise being the favourite. So yeah, you're right. It's quite difficult to pick a second horse there. Currently, I've got Young Werther, who is 325k at $10 odds and is the third favourite in the race. I just like its last run, and I've been a favourite of that horse for a while. So currently that's in my stable as my second horse. Being not many Group 1 races, my suggestion is to try and pick 2 horses from Group 1 races, but it's about how you approach your stable for this weekend. The other Group 1 race, yeah, sorry,
I was just going to say, Delphi won with a lot of arrogance last week as well. And yeah, so there's a lot of good options there. And once again, I just want to emphasize it's going to be all depends whatever horse that you like. So there's a lot of options that you can go. And that's where the points are, I think, will be very different this week. Some stables will score a lot and some will be left very disappointed. It just all comes down to a bit of luck as to which horses you choose.
Yeah. Going across a horse that I definitely like is Nature Strip, who is the current favourite for the Everest at 500k value in Supercoach. It's the $4 favourite to beat Classic Legend, who's coming in at 460 odds, is the second favourite, and it's also 500k in Supercoach. So some big horses there at high Supercoach value. It should be a very good race. I've got a bit of a family connection to Nature Strips, so I'll be locking in that horse. But even if there wasn't the connection there, I still think I'd be locking that in as my favourite anyway for this race, and is my captain for this upcoming race week. So there's a lot of big horses here. Nature Strip, Eduardo, G-Trars at $7 odds, Eduardo's at $6. But the thing about this race is there's a lot of Supercoach horses that are at high value. Eduardo and G-Trars coming at 475k. Mars Crusader, 475k, is the fifth favourite in the race. The value runner in the race is Home Affairs, 175k in Supercoach, $10 odds, and is current sixth favourite in the race. It's only running at 53 kilograms in comparison to the other runners in the race. So it's got 5.5 kilos less than Nature Strip going around in the Everest. So that's your value in the race. And there's some big horses here running around. Clinton, what are you liking currently?
Well, I just like the class of the top couple there, and that's why I'm leaning towards having them both, because I think whichever could go either way. Classic Legend, obviously, watching this race last year was just unbelievable how quickly that just reeled the leaders in, and they faced again. And I just like Classic Legend as the horse, and all depends on how it's recovered after a long stint away from the racetrack, and it's trialled well. So that's the way I'm leading, and I just like that horse. So at this stage, I've got both, as I said. But if it does, once again, I was trying to, if I do change a few things, potentially Nature Strip would be the one that I drop out of my stable. So it's an interesting race for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to watching that at 4:15 p.m. There's currently 16 runners in the race 7 at Randwick. So look forward to watching that one. We'll go to our Group 2 races now. And there's only, like I already mentioned, there's only 2 Group 2 races this weekend. There's Colette, who's running in race 7 at Caulfield. Only 10 runners is the favourite. It's $2.90 odds and 450k in Supercoach. I've seen a lot of stables this weekend that are going off Colette just because of how high a value it is in Supercoach. So it's 450k. Yeah, but it is a strong favourite in the smaller field. So I've seen a lot of stables going off it this weekend in the, yeah, so Nimmerly is the second favourite, $5. Do you want to pronounce the name of the third favourite for me there, Clinton?
No, you do it first, please, Blake. Have a crack. What is it?
I'm going to go with Shay Lu.
Shay. Yeah, well, I watched its last race. So apparently it's Shay Yu, and I do like that horse. I currently have that in my stable, but the thing about Colette is it's a really good wet tracker. So I think it's class alone, probably ahead of the other horses in this race. But if you combine that with the wet track, it's going to be really hard to beat. So I wouldn't be surprised if those odds continue to fall down if the run does come. So it's going to be one of those horses I will probably chuck in on Saturday morning if the track is really wet.
Yeah, some other key runners there were CLA Miss and Pride of Jenny as the 4th and 5th favourites. Thanks for giving me a heads up about Shay Lu before the recording, Clinton. I would have gone with Charlotte if I had my way. In the Caulfield Sprint, the other Group 2 race 10, it's got 12 runners in it. Another good pronunciation of a horse. I'll can't even say that. So I'll go with Malkovich. Is 225k in Supercoach and is the current favorite. I like Enthar, who's 200k and is the close second favorite. Some other key runners are Curran, Oxley Road, and General Bow, who you liked in round one, Clinton. Is it currently 950 odds to win the race and 200k in Supercoach? What are you liking in the second Group 2 race, Clinton?
Yeah, I like the favourite. It's a Sydney horse. Should get a nice run from the inside, one of the inside barriers. Enthar's the intriguing runner, hasn't run for a long time, so it's going to be interesting to see how that runs fresh. But I'm just backing in the form that Malkovich has been showing recently, and that's the one I'm leaning towards.
Yeah, you'll have to excuse my pronunciations of horses. I'll have to say this every single week of the show, but yeah. You'll learn to deal with it. So the Group 3 races, there's 6 of them this weekend, 3 at each track. Race 4 at Caulfield, we've got the favourite as Kapalua Sunset, 125k in Supercoach and at $2.10 odds. In the Neds Classic Race 5 at Caulfield, we've got Gunstock as 75k, $3.20 odds. And Race 6 at Caulfield, 10 runners. Buffalo River is the current favourite, just ahead of Kemple
Zutori.
Zutori, yeah. I was thinking of a different race. That's all right. Buffalo River's current favourite, 300k and 320 odds.
That's another wet track at Blake. So if it does, if it's really wet, those odds will fall in as well. So yeah, I do like Buffalo River, but at that price currently I don't have it. Kapalua Sunset was one of my first picks. I really like that horse. It's actually owned by a few Hawthorn players in the past, so I think that'll run really well. And in the race that has Gunstock, they're really cheap, so you should have at least one of those in that race. I currently have Tis Magic, which is 50k, so that's a nice cheap Group 3 to chuck in at 1 or 2.
Yeah, thank you. In the Kosciuszko Race 5 at Randwick, we got Handle the Truth as the current favourite. Yeah, I'm all over the shop tonight, Clinton, but you'll have to excuse me.
It's all good.
Yeah. The Sydney Stakes Race 6 at Randwick, the favourite's currently Big Parade, which is the race that I was just thinking of with the horse in it of Kementari. And the Yulon Craving Plate is race 8 at Randwick with 11 runners, and Think It Over, who I should have had in my round 1 team, is running around at $2.30 odds and 475k in Supercoach, which is a massive spend for a Group 3 race, and I will not be tempted to get it this weekend. Do you like any of those favourites there, Clinton?
None of those. In the Kosciuszko, I do like the second favourite, which is Edit, which is 150k in Supercoach. I don't have any of the other races because I do have quite a few runners in Melbourne with a few more group races, and then a couple of big dogs in the Everest means there's a few other Group 3s that I've avoided due to the fact that there's not great value Supercoach wise.
Yeah, Edit's currently going around at $4.80 odds as the second favourite. What did I just call the Kosciuszko, by the way?
You're saying Kosciuszko or something like that. It's Kosciuszko.
Okay, that's all right.
You're close, I think.
You're close. Having a rough night. That's all right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go across to the handicap and listed races now. I've just got some key runners here who are the favourites across the handicap races. So I think we've got Eagles Craig there at is the $2 favourite in race 1 at Caulfield. High Supremacy, $2.30. There's not too many horses here that I'll be selecting as a handicap listed race. Maximum points you can get is 18. The shortest favourite there, you've got Eagles Craig is 150k, $2 odds in race 1. A Head Start is race 3 at Randwick, 150k, $3.20 odds, but it's a big field there, 19 runners currently. One horse that I've got as a cheaper option and is currently in my stable is race 4 at Randwick, I've got Fangirl. It's 75k, $3.30 odds in a field of 13 currently there at Randwick. So that's currently in my stable. You're not enticed by any of these handicap listed races runners here, Clinton?
No, I've chased value in the other Group 3s that have cheaper runners. So although Fangirl may win, and even Eagles Craig that is a short favourite, I've avoided those races because I can't see the Supercoach value with the amount of points you can win.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other key aspect which we need to consider for this weekend is our jockeys. Currently, probably the most popularly owned and the best jockey in Australia is James McDonald. He's got 9 rides this weekend. 6 of them are top 3 favourites and 3 favourites. And he's on Nature Strip and Fangirl, which are currently in my stable. So some big runners there. He's got the most top 3 favourites across the 2 tracks. Another key jockey is Jai McNeil, who's got another 10 rides this weekend. He's got the full card lined up, and he's got 3 top 3 favourites and 2 favourites overall. He's got some good horses there. He's got Gunstock, Buffalo River, and Enthar. So some good horses there, and got 10 rides currently. So it's looking good, but he doesn't have as many top 3 favourites as the rest of the jockeys. Damian Lane's got 9 rides, 4 top 3 favourites, and 3 favourites overall. He's riding Colette and Malkovich, which is in your stable. Hugh Bowman's on 8 runners, and he's got 5 top 3 runners. He's on horses such as Edit, Commentary, and Promise of Success, which is a favourite there, and Promises of Success in a handicap listed race. So, so some key jockeys there. I'm pretty sure just about everyone will be locking in James McDonald again, but some other options to consider for this weekend, unlike last weekend.
Yeah, I think it's worth considering, Blake. Obviously, we're recording this Thursday night, so between now and Saturday, there's likely to be scratchings, and with considering your stable, there might be a horse that gets scratched and you have to alter your stable. But also with your jockeys, if potentially a jockey has 1 or 2 of their runners scratched, that may change things. So, for example, James McDonald one horse got scratched last week, and if there was actually another one of his got scratched, I want to change James. So, all depends on the scratchings that happen between as you're watching the Saturday morning as he changes stable, because those other jockeys, it's pretty close this week, although James McDonald goes okay, so I might stick with him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's locked into my stable. He goes okay, James.
Yeah.
I think you described me as I scoffed at him in the first week, but I think he goes all right. So my stable for this weekend, I'll just read through them quickly before I describe. So we've got Nature Strip, Colette, Young Werther, Incentivize, Enthar, Home Affairs, Fangirl, and Gunstock. So like I already mentioned, I want to lock in 2 runners from each Group 1 race. From the Everest, I've got Nature Strip as my captain. Unfortunately, I couldn't afford Classic Legend, so I've gone with Home Affairs, who is the value runner of the race. Like I already mentioned, 5.5 kilos down from Nature Strip, so that's the value runner there from that race. And if I could afford a better horse, I probably would have gone up to it in my Supercoach. But so I've got Nature Strip and Home Affairs from the Everest, and from the Caulfield Cup, I've gone Incentivize as the favourite and Young Werther. So they're my 2 runners that I both like from that race. In the Colette is high value to spend for a Group 2 race, 450k, and I've seen a lot of stables jump off him. But at that odds and in a smaller field, I've decided he's got to be a lock into my team. Enthar, like I already mentioned, I like him in the Group 2 race against Malkovich, so I've locked him in. And then from there, I only had 150 to spend. So Fangirl in a listed race is a $2.90 favourite and only 75k in Supercoach. And Gunstock, 75k, $3.20 odds in a Group 3. So there's a favourite there. And they're probably the best 2 runners that I could afford for 150k. Got any questions about my team there, Clinton?
No, it's all good, Blake. I think Gunstock does look a promising horse. And as I said before, I've got Tiz Magic. They both ran 2nd and 3rd in their previous start. And Gunstock did look like it was hitting the line a lot better. So that extra 25k, I would get Gunstock if I could, but is what it is. And yeah, Home Affairs, I like the value of it, but there's a few handy horses ahead of it in terms of odds, and I think that's for good reason. There, Home Affairs, I think it's a up and coming horse, but may find it difficult to even run in the top 4 or 5. So yeah, I like the value of it, but yeah, you know how it all unfolds, and all depends on. For me, it's going to be on Classique Legend because that's the way I'm heading for my captain. And as I said, Colette's a horse that I do like. It's just whether or not I pull that rein on Saturday morning.
Yeah, if you'd like to talk through your team now, Clinton. So you've locked in Classique Legend as your captain.
As my captain, yeah, and I've got Nature Strip there. And in the Caulfield Cup, I've only got Incentivized, as I said. That horse, Shayu, that I mentioned prior, I like that horse. Malkovich, Edit, Kapalua Sunset, and Tis Magic is my stable with J Mac as the jockey. So obviously things may change between now and Saturday, but I've gone big in the Everest, and I'm hoping that Nature Strip can run well and hit the front with 100 to go, and then Classique Legend reels it in is the plan.
Yeah, we've gone a fair different stable this weekend, but could work in either of our favours, really. I couldn't afford Kapalua Sunset, unfortunately. I like that as a 125k value and to 10 odds in a Group 3 race, but unfortunately I couldn't afford it with the value I'd already spent on Group 1 and Group 2 races. So it's all about how you set up your stable this weekend, picking horses that you like that potentially might run second or third in a Group 1 or even a Group 2 race. It might be tricky to find some points this weekend. So it's all about how you set it up, and hopefully we've provided you with some value picks and some key horses for this weekend, so you can at least structure up your stable for our round 3 Supercoach. So yeah, I think that's about wraps us up, Clinton. Like always, if you're only just finishing the end of our show now, so like and comment and subscribe to our show. We appreciated the comments on our show last weekend as our most popular viewed show on YouTube. If you're listening to us on Apple or Spotify podcasts, make sure you check out YouTube as well, because like I said, the graphics were improved last week, which people caught on to, so that was good. I've been all over the shop with my pronunciations and just of general words tonight. So it's been a good show. So I hope you enjoyed it. Any final words to finish us off here, Clinton?
No, doing a good job, Blake. Just obviously emphasising, check your stable Saturday morning, check the state of the track, and if you're going to change your stable, obviously look out for those wet trackers for the likes of Buffalo River, Colette. There's a few wet trackers that really thrive. So they're the types of horses that I don't have at the moment, but may change.
Yeah, with those scratchings, obviously, if you followed me on Instagram or Twitter, you would have seen the changes that I made to my stable last weekend. So make sure you hit us up on those socials. We're also on patreon.com now. So patreon.com/MINYIP Fantasy Sports Community. If you wanted to support the show, this is the main way you support us and become a part of our MINYIP Fantasy Sports community. In the future, we'll have group prizes for leagues and extra content for our subscribers to there. So make sure you check that out, and hope you enjoyed the show. Good luck for your Supercoach round 3 stables, and we'll speak with you soon. Thank you, Clinton.
Good luck, Blake.